Going on, Jerome's a beautiful Friday. Birds are chirping and stuff, and it's time for the Vikings Friday news dump. And a little bit later than usual because Daddy was out having a good time, just winning Thursday. It was great. Took producer Ali out. We got some Korean barbecue. It was fantastic. Now, so we went to a place called Donghae. In the Twin Cities. It's fantastic. They have a couple of locations, and it's funny. So, this doesn't make you worldly, but obviously I know my way around a Korean barbecue because but it was so funny because there was a like an older Korean sort of mom, grandma type, and she's like looking over my shoulder while I was cooking, just sort of judging and stuff. And then she's like, "Oh, it's okay. I help." It was cool, and she was so nice. And I think I've talked about this before. Older, like moms love me, especially like Korean moms, because I've thought about this a lot, and I've talked about this with producer Ali and some other friends too. And I think what it comes down to is, for Korean moms and Korean grandmas, I exemplify the American dream. That's right. I'm what they want. Where I'm a handsome-ish Korean male. Well, actually, mostly Japanese now, since my wife. So I don't know if this is an invasion of privacy, but she surprised me Christmas a couple years ago with that whole spit in the tube thing. And apparently, she like collected my saliva while I was sleeping and then mailed it in. I don't know if I trust it because it's not like that database goes straight to the government or anything. Tinfoil hats. Anyways, I found out I'm like 70% Japanese, but that's neither here nor there. But getting back to why older Korean women love me, it's because I exemplify the American dream, where I'm relatively well spoken, I'm relatively well educated. Winona State, the Harvard of the Midwest. Plus, I have an MBA, and I have beautiful offspring. So I was like, I'm perfect. I'm exactly what they want for the American dream. Meanwhile, their sons are like doctors and stuff. But he's not surgeon, he's podiatrist or something. I don't know. Either way, Korean barbecue is fantastic because some people poo-poo Korean barbecue. Is like, oh, what do you mean you gotta cook your own food? Because it's fantastic. It's fun, man. Also, all the Korean condiments. I long story longer, but it's Friday. But I feel like there's a great business opportunity because I love all the Korean accoutrement vegetables, like the kimchi, the pickled radishes, the pickled onions, the potatoes, like all the pickled stuff, right? But if you try to buy at a Asian grocery store, like they're all separate. Everything you have to get separate. But we need to take like a fishing tackle box and just have all of these little ones and then just sell that directly. I'm sure that there's something like it because it makes too much sense for there not to be. But if there's not, I'm creating it and we're all going to get rich. We're going to profit share with the Jeromes. It's going to be good. Also good is Jerod Mayo is named as a replacement for Bill Belichick. This is exciting. So Mayo, former first-round pick in 2008, out of Tennessee. Was a great linebacker for the Patriots for a number of years. Now, it's also interesting is that Jerod Mayo and Kevin O'Connell were in the same draft class, 2008. Woo! Great times, man. And Mayo's been on staff with the Patriots for years. And at 37, he now becomes the youngest head coach in the league. And there had been a succession plan put in place for Jerod. So it's awesome. It's fantastic. The Patriots get a modicum of continuity. And also, selfishly, for us as Vikings fans, it takes the most logical landing spot for Brian Flores off the table. And the fact that there hasn't been any reported interview requests for Brian Flores, like I didn't want to think that the freeze out of Flo was going to happen, but it looks like it's happening. But it's okay. Hey, pissed off Flores and also a pissed off Vikings defense, revamped and revitalized, especially in the trenches. We'll take that. We'll take that for 2024. League is going to be put on notice. Also put on notice is, hey, Clint Kubiak might be back in. Jeremy Fowler, ESPN. Bears plan to interview 49ers passing game coordinator Clint Kubiak for their OC job per sources. Now, Clint, little Coobs, that's not it. There you go. Little Coobs came over with Pops, and him and the Kubiak were trying to run the offense while Zimmer was running the defense, trying to have that separation of church and state. Two head coaches saying they tried it with Norv, they tried it with Coobs, etc. And it just wasn't good. Right? So I felt like the offense was very helter-skelter, very predictable under the Kubiak. Also, what's weird? Jerod Kubiak won a Super Bowl as head coach of the Broncos. It's great times, man. Yeah. But Kubiak, Little Coobs has bounced around. I think he was quarterback's coach of the Broncos 2 years ago. The Nathaniel Hackett dynasty. I think he's been with the Niners this year. So if he gets back in the game, great. And we'll see him twice a year, and he'll ruin Caleb Williams. I can't believe you're going to roll with Fields for another year, or you're going to take Williams or May or Daniels or Penix or whoever, and then you're just like, hey, Clint Kubiak, don't wreck this. Okay. Also something that I don't have a good transition. But so Quinn Ewers decided to go back to school. This was quasi-expected since he had made up his mind. And, Quinn Ewers had himself a pretty solid semifinals game. He's had himself a great junior season as well. So Texas hook him. And Ewers, I feel like Ewers is underrated. I think he's got a live arm. I think that he has good accuracy. I think that he has a little bit of a cocksure attitude as well. But I think that Ewers could be in the mix for the number 1 overall pick in 2025. I think this year he probably would have been behind the triumvirate of Williams, May, and Daniels up at the top. Probably would have been in that Penix, Nix, McCarthy era. But, I mean, he's a talented player and could have been a first-round pick, but thins out the quarterback class a little bit, but the quarterback class is still really damn good. But looking forward to Ewers next year. And also, what's going to happen with Arch Manning? Is he going to be on the shelf again, or is he going to transfer? Arch to Bama. Kind of makes sense. We'll see. But speaking of this quarterback class, so Jayden Daniels, the pride of LSU. Of course, the Skol SU, the LSU to Minnesota pipeline, you look at Justin Jefferson. You look at Jaquelin Roy. You look at Daniil Hunter. You look at Patrick Peterson back in the day. You look at Naz Reid. That's right. Skol SU is in full effect, man. And Jayden Daniels was electric this year, a dual-threat quarterback coming in from Arizona State, won the Heisman, 50 total touchdowns, electric with the running game as well as great as a passer, and it just he could revolutionize the quarterback position. Now, you could say that, well, he's a little bit frail. Oh, he could get hurt. Oh, he's dollar store Lamar Jackson. I don't care. I don't care either way. Like, I am in on Daniels, and if the Vikings want him, I think they may have to get into the top 5, maybe even top 3. But you look at all the rumors last year of the Vikings and O'Connell and Kwesi being in on Anthony Richardson, so it's clear that they're comfortable, with the dual threat aspect. Although Richardson has like 60 pounds on Jayden Daniels. But also, I want a world where we have Jayden Daniels and Jaden McDaniels. We just have a monopoly on all the offshoots of Jayden Daniels. There you go. Speaking of draft, so one of the funniest things is, so like Vikings fans on social media, they just go to war over Kyle Hamilton all the time. Where it's like, we could have had Kyle Hamilton at 12, but instead we took Lewis Cine over and over and over again. And it's so funny because obviously you can't change anything in the past, but the fact that Hamilton has blossomed into an all-pro adjacent player with the Ravens, it sort of is what it is. But Vikes fan page pointed out, the Vikings had very little interest in current Ravens safety Kyle Hamilton in the 2022 NFL draft process. Darren Dugan-Wolfson mentioned on Score North. Minnesota went on to select Lewis Cine after trading back to pick 32 and passing on Hamilton. And I feel like this is a little bit of revisionist history because, if you remember, Kyle Hamilton did not test well at the combine at his pro day, right? So he was explosive in the jumps, which is great, and also has very rare size, but he was scrutinized quite a bit because he only ran a 4.59 40, which is slow even for a safety, and also he tested very poorly in the agility drills like the shuttle and the 3-cone. But it was a spot where tape don't lie. Kyle Hamilton was a playmaking unicorn in the back end of that Notre Dame defense, but it's such revisionist history. Like, people always say, like, oh, we knew that Kyle Hamilton was going to be the guy. Oh, here we go. But don't for a second I mean, go back to the draft process in 2022. Don't for a second think that people were completely writing off Kyle Hamilton because he ran a slow 40, as well as he had agility issues in the testing. Again, you can test great all you want, but if you're indecisive, if you don't have football instincts, you're going to be a step slow out there. So, we always talk about with the 40, where, hey, a guy could run a 4.3 in a straight line, but if he doesn't have the agility to put on the brakes, or he doesn't know when, or he doesn't have the instincts to turn, all right, so say he's going to make a 90-degree turn, but he doesn't know when to do it. He doesn't have the agility to put his foot in the ground and go get it, right? So a 4.3 guy all of a sudden turns into a 4.8 guy, whereas a guy runs a 4.5, 4.6, but he has great feet, he has great instincts, he can make that turn, he's still a 4.5, 4.6 guy. What it comes down to, like simplistic example. But I mean, let's not act like people weren't like, Kyle Hamilton, he's slow, blah, blah, blah. Also, the Ravens taking him at 14 overall, safety is not seen as a premium position. So, again, don't act like people weren't all poo-pooing the Ravens and Eric DeCosta for taking a safety at 14. Now, it certainly worked out. And, again, just papering over, like, revisionist history of the Vikings just could have took Hamilton at 12. They also could have took Jordan Davis. Also could have took Jameson Williams. I don't know, man. But if they take Jameson Williams, then they probably don't take Addison in 2023. So sometimes things work out. But have faith. Have faith. Someone who doesn't have faith is... So we got sent this. Apparently this is from Packers Reddit. Can a Vikings fan become a cheesehead? So basically, he's in here complaining. It's like, oh, the heartbreak. Oh, the money spent on stadium. Oh, blah, 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 blah. And then he explains how his fiance comes from a Packers family and he's trying to cross over. No. I mean, this is America, and you can cheer for whoever you want, and you can be whatever level of fan you want. One of my friends from college is actually a legitimate Packers and Vikings fan. She just hopes that everyone has a good time. And again, fans are on a bell curve. Fans are on a spectrum. You can be whatever kind of fan you want, but I feel like this can't stand. This can't stand, man. It's also like a Packers fan becoming a Vikings fan. Like, do you think there were some kids during '98? When the Packers were struggling to cover Randy Moss, all of a sudden, like, hey, I like that 84 guy. I look pretty good in purple. Nah. This is one barrier that you can't cross. Where, hey, if you're a super casual Vikings fan and say you want to root for the Ravens, sure, go ahead. Or you want to root for the Raiders or the Browns or whatever. Hell, you can even, I was going to say you can root for the Lions, but that's sort of dicey now. It's like, hey, you want to become a Giants fan for whatever reason. Whatever. But no, you cannot become a Packers fan. That's all right. So my dad was super casual. Well, no, he was a hardcore fan, but he was super casual with me. Like, he didn't care if I was into sports or not. It's kind of like how I operate with my kids. It's almost like some parents just force their fandom upon the kids. Like, hey, we're going to the game, Johnny. We're going to make good memories, and you have to cheer for this team, or no matter what. You're just setting up the kid up for heartbreak. But he made one rule: you can't root for the Packers, you can't root for the Cowboys, and that was it. I could have been a Niners fan, man, but I digress. So I think that's the one line you can't cross. You can't root for the Packers. It's like a Liverpool fan rooting for Manchester United, or a Texas fan rooting for Oklahoma. Can't happen. Can't do it. Anyways, your thoughts are thoughts. Beautiful Friday news dump. You guys are the best. You know what to do. Skull production value.